Hey everyone, welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to act as your personal financial advisor today as we explore the real, boots-on-the-ground realities of navigating the in-game economy. If it's literally your first day looking at the markets, or even if you're just exhausted from watching your hard-earned gold mysteriously vanish into thin air, well, you're in the exact right place. In this explainer, we're going to completely decode the Grand Exchange. We'll be using real, up-to-the-minute data to map out a safe, math-backed, and incredibly profitable path forward for your portfolio. Let's get into it. So here's the golden question. How do you turn 1 million into 2 million without risking your entire starting capital? I mean, it's the ultimate dream, right? A lot of new traders show up at the exchange totally paralyzed by the fear of losing their bank. They kind of think they need to bet everything on one massive lucky flip to get rich. But what if I told you there's a much safer way? Okay, let's actually dive into the numbers and see exactly how it's possible to guarantee your wealth, completely skipping the sleepless nights. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Trading Basics and Margin. Our absolute foundational concept here is margin. Simply put, in the trading world, the margin is the pure profit difference between an item's buy price and its sell price. This gap is absolutely crucial, guys, because this space is where literally all of our profit is generated. You buy an item at a low price, you patiently sell it at a higher price, and that mathematical space in between, that's your margin. It sounds deceptively simple for sure, but learning to spot and really master this gap is the ultimate secret to building a massive bank over time. Next up is ROI, or return on investment. This is kind of the secret sauce. It's the percentage of profit you earn relative to the money you originally spent. Now, the absolutely vital takeaway here is that ROI is the true measure of a smart, safe investment, not just the raw gold piece profit. Think about it. Making 10,000 gold might not sound like a huge, earth-shattering victory, but if you only spent 1,000 gold to make it, your ROI is astronomical. We want every single gold piece working efficiently for us, multiplying itself in the background. Moving right along to Section 2, Taxes. Yep, your hidden enemy. So, the exchange, it's not a free-for-all trading floor. There is a strict, unavoidable tax rate of 1% on all sales, which mathematically caps out at a maximum of 5 million gold pieces per item. As your advisor, I really need to warn you about this right up front. This tax silently eats into every single margin you try to exploit. If you aren't strictly factoring this 1% deduction into your math before you buy, you might actually end up losing money on a trade that looked like a total home run on paper. If you visualize this, it makes total sense. See how that red tax chunk physically reduces the gap between your blue buy price and your green sell price? It literally shrinks the height of your final take-home profit. Every single time you calculate your potential margin on an item, you have got to mentally chop off that red slice. Protecting your margins from this hidden enemy is exactly what separates the novice gamblers from the absolute master traders. All right, Section 3, high risk versus low risk strategies. Okay, looking at some real-time data, the contrast is honestly staggering. On the one hand, the Third Age Druidic staff requires a massive, terrifying investment of over 506 million gold just to net a 146 million profit. That carries a $500 million gold risk if the market suddenly trends downward. Market fluctuations can happen in the blink of an eye, and if a negative price trend hits, your starting capital is completely crushed. Conversely, look at the Trailblazer Reloaded headband. It costs a tiny 225,000 gold, but brings in 4.73 million in profit. That is an absurd ROI of over 2,100%. This vividly proves why targeting low-risk items is just vastly superior for beginners. You risk almost nothing, yet you multiply your money exponentially, totally shielding yourself from those wild market fluctuations. So I want you to really internalize this rule. It's not about the millions you make in a single lucky trade. It's about how little you risk to guarantee your wealth. As your financial advisor, my #1 non-negotiable rule for you is to protect your starting capital at all costs. By focusing on cheap items with high margins, a sudden downward trend simply won't wipe out your bank. You survive the fluctuations, you learn the actual rhythms of the market, and you steadily keep compounding your profits safely. Let's dive into Section 4, Analysis of Real Lots. Let's walk through some of these specific low-budget examples straight from our data table. Look at the Infinity Gloves right there in the middle. You can pick them up for around 808,000 gold and flip them for 2 million. Even after factoring in that 20,000 gold tax, you safely yield a massive 145% return on investment. Or check out the Shattered Hood, buying for $2.4 million and clearing a 60% ROI after a 39,000 gold tax. These aren't theoretical. These are real, actively traded items where the barrier to entry is super low, but the profit margins are beautifully wide. Zooming in on that bronze felling axe, you can really see the highly accessible, safe 1 million gold investment in action. The tax is a tiny drop in the bucket at 23,000 gold, and the sell price is a whopping 2.25 million. This perfectly illustrates the massive profit gap waiting for you. You are literally more than doubling your money on a completely basic item, and the tax, it barely even makes a dent because the initial margin is just so incredibly healthy. Okay, section 5, the quick check before buying. Here is your exact 4-step algorithm to manually check an item's real-time margin safely. Step 1, buy just one single unit of the item well above the market price to see what it instantly buys for. Step 2, sell that exact same item well below the market price to see what it instantly sells for. Step 3, the difference between those two numbers, that's your gross margin. And step 4, always subtract the 1% tax from that sell price to find your true take-home margin. I can't stress this enough. Always run this test with one single item before you ever commit your whole bankroll. All right, to pull everything in this explainer together, here's your mental checklist. First, protect your starting capital like your life depends on it. Second, prioritize a high return on investment over those raw, flashy profit numbers. Third, always calculate that 1% hidden tax enemy into your math. Fourth, aggressively exploit those low-risk, high-margin items we talked about, like the headbands and axes. And finally, always run a quick one-item margin check before you start bulk buying. If you internalize this financial philosophy, it will guarantee your consistent long-term growth. Well, we've reached the end of our explainer. You now know the real math of the market, you understand the undeniable power of high ROI, and you know exactly how to dodge the traps set by the exchange tax. The power, and honestly the knowledge, is now completely in your hands. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Take a look at the markets today. Which item is going to become your very first successful investment? Get out there, verify those margins, and start safely building your empire. Until next time, happy trading!